What's happening, good people? We are here for Macro Dirt Podcast number 54 with my man in Hunter S. Thompson's shirt, Jared Dillian. What is up, brother?
What's up, Ding Dong?
Ding dong works for me. Speaking of ding dong, speaking of podcast number 54, Studio 54 comes right to mind, JD. Do you got any
Yep.
thoughts on that place?
That's a little before my time, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I didn't start going to clubs. Like, I mean, I'm a big, music buff. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
start going to clubs until about 2008.
Mm.
Kind of, I was 34. Like, I kind of missed Twilo. I did go to Limelight a few times when I was younger.
Yeah.
But Studio 54 is a little before my time.
Yeah, I'm loosely obsessed with it because, the place opened in 77 right along the Saturday Night Fever movie. And that was, peak disco in America. And my parents used to go out and disco dance. So I do remember that. But the history behind Studio 54 is fascinating. Started by Steve Rubell and Ian Schrager, right? Two fraternity brothers at University of Syracuse that met going after the same chick. Okay, these guys grew up in Brooklyn. Schrager lost his dad at 19 and his mom at 23, became a real estate lawyer at St. John's, right? Then they go out and they open Studio 54, which turns out to be lightning in a bottle, right? It had a 2-year existence, but the people that hung out there were like Andy Warhol, Mick Jagger, David Bowie, Calvin Klein, Donald Trump. Like, this was the who's who of anybody in the world. And the reason that you call it lightning in a bottle is because the two owners got thrown in jail for tax evasion in 1981. Right, the place lasted 2 years. It was shut down. These guys went to jail for tax evasion. Steve Rubell dies of AIDS in 1989. Ian Schrager goes out and starts the Morgan Hotel Group and basically
Oh,
births
wow.
boutique hotels.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Isn't
So
that
he
wild?
has like the Hudson Hotel and the Sanderson in London
The
and
Delano.
Mondrian down in Miami. Yep.
Exactly. So he created this behemoth of boutique hotels that I'm a huge fan of. I mean, they had me at the first one that I ever stayed at. And what's really interesting, Schrager gets pardoned by Obama for tax evasion in 2017. Today, he's pushing 80 years old, lives in Southampton. He's worth $300 million.
How's he worth 300 million? What'd he do?
The Morgan's Hotel Group.
Oh, I thought you meant the other guy.
No,
Okay.
no, no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no.
The other guy died of AIDS.
Rubel
Yeah.
died of AIDS, in
Yeah,
'89, and
yeah.
I remember when that headline hit too. You were like, "Ooh, he partied really hard at Studio 54,"
Yeah.
I guess. But wild history, though, right?
That is, I mean, first of all, nightclubs don't usually last very long. Like
Good
2
point.
years is short, but they don't usually last more than like 6 or 7 years.
Very
You know,
fatty.
my favorite club in the city was Cielo in the meatpacking district. And I went to Cielo so many freaking times, but basically like the center of gravity in the club world in New York moved out to Brooklyn, and Cielo became kind of like an orphan in the meatpacking district, and people just weren't going there anymore, and they had to shut down in 2014. But man, that was the best sound system of any club I've been to in my life.
That is
You
one of the
know,
cool things about going to a big club like that is the sound system. I'd be honest with you, I have very little to no club experience, but there was a club in Long Island shortly after this went on in the 70s. So in the 80s now, when I'm in high school, there's an Uncle Sam's club in Long Island that's trying to be like a disco club. And on Monday night, this club was called Spit, and it was all alternative music, and it was awesome. So that's like the only clubbing that I ever did, but we used to go there and listen to all the, the New Order, Depeche Mode, and it was just a night for everything like that, and it was really, really cool.
by the way, did you ever see the movie Bright Lights, Big City?
No, is that good? I've heard of that.
So it's based on a book by Jay McInerney, and it's got what's his name, Michael Keaton? No, not Michael Keaton.
So, Bright Lights, Big City is the 1988 drama by James Bridges, starring Michael J. Fox, Kiefer
Michael J.
Sutherland,
Fox, yes,
Phoebe Cates,
Michael
too.
J. Fox. Yep.
So tell me about the
So
movie. Any good or?
I mean, it's pretty good, but it kind of shows the club scene in New York in like the late '80s, you know.
Oh yeah.
And it's got a good soundtrack. Like you mentioned, New Order. That's what made me think of it. Like New Order is actually on the soundtrack, and it's playing in a club that they go to.
Oh, very
But
cool.
Michael J. Fox is basically like a fact checker for this magazine called Gotham, which is basically the New Yorker. And it's all going up his nose. Like he has his cocaine addiction and he's like, his life is like out of control. And I never read, I should read the book. The book was like a huge success, but
Yeah, I remember that. I remember
yeah.
that about it. That's cool. I'd like to check that out. That's good. That's good historic stuff. There's also, by the way, on YouTube, Studio 54, the documentary, worth 90 minutes of your time. Really,
Yeah.
really well done if you're interested in this story. It's a pretty cool spot. So let's dig right into the markets here, JD. The only resistance I can see is NVIDIA just bumped its head on 4 trillion market cap. Other than
Yeah.
that, things look pretty good with the S&P 60. Well, it just got up to a high of 6320 and backed off 40 handles. But tell me
You know
your
what?
thoughts, and then I'll tell you mine.
So I'm the sentiment guy on NVIDIA. We never talked about this, but there's a guy named Ty Kim who I think writes for the Wall Street Journal. I can't remember, but he published a book called The NVIDIA Way right on the ding dong highs like 6 months ago.
Oh yeah,
Like, and I was like, that's it. That's the top. The book comes out right on the top. And here we are now, 4 trillion market cap. Like it's putting in new highs, you know.
it's
So
breaking out like the old highs are going to get left in the rearview mirror, or at the very least be the bottom of the range going forward. Like you're going to have to buy 150, 155s in NVIDIA if you get a look at them again this time. And I mean, I can't explain it. All I can explain it as, though, is a bull market. So not going to be the one that picks the top there. We've got the NASDAQ screeching along to 23K, the S&P above 6,300. I guess what I like about it most is that I don't feel like broad market sentiment is at all red line positive. I think that Trump is still, dealing a couple of tariff headlines out there that the market's kind of wrestling with, but it's not providing any downside relief for the bears out there. And when I look at the calendar, like nothing till CPI next Tuesday. I mean, I don't want to be long volatility going into this situation, so I'm still bullish, and I think stocks can go higher.
yeah, we got Fed minutes today. That's not going to say anything useful at all. There's so Nick T at the Wall Street Journal, Nick Timoraos,
Mm-hmm.
just came out with an article saying that Kevin Hassett is the front runner to be the next Fed chair, which is something that I said
Yeah, good call.
about a month ago. I said Kevin Hassett was going to be the guy. Um, so we can talk about this if you want. I mean, Kevin Hassett is kind of a Trump hack,
Mm-hmm.
but he's also not. He has been asked about Fed independence before. He says all the right things about Fed independence. I think he cut 100 basis points out of the gate for sure if you made him Fed chair. But I think he would stop there. Trump is a maniac. Trump wants interest rates to be like 0 or 1%. Hassett isn't going to do it. So it's basically setting up like he's going to get who he wants in that job, but it's going to set up for another fight down the road. So
Yeah, that's fair. I still think that Trump is just doing Overton window things by throwing out, rates should be at 1% or whatever, just to kind of get the market thinking that way. He's got Powell, headlines are out now that Powell's talking about resigning,
by the
literally.
way,
So,
did you see that the Fed is doing renovations to the Fed building in DC? Did you see this story?
no, what's that all about? Do you think there's something
Dude,
behind it?
they're doing a $2.1 billion renovation to the Fed building. And they're putting in like a rooftop deck and like a fancy elevator and like all this stuff. Like
Pickleball courts.
they're turning it into a palace. And keep in mind, the Fed building isn't that big, right?
Yeah,
The JP Morgan building on Park Avenue, the one they're building, is 3 billion, right? It's basically the same cost as the renovations to the Fed building. It's insane,
it's
you know.
monstrous, that place. Yeah, and it's gorgeous. Yeah. I mean, what do you think the symbolism will be after that? I mean, aren't they trying to build a new FBI headquarters too, as the entire, as the whole thing loses its credibility? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what this stuff means. Obama library is going up. His reputation is sinking like a stone. I don't know. You got to watch it when the big buildings get renovated. I'm not sure what to make of it, JD. You're probably better at it than me, but I want to highlight another great call that you made. Last week, we were talking about the dollar index. It was on the dead ass low. You were talking about a perfect DMARC setup, and it never traded another tick lower from there last week. And so now we've got this big figure bounce in the dollar index from like 96.5 to 97.5. To me, it's got, I think, sentiment so negative, it's got smooth sailing to 99 before it's even tested the trend.
Yep.
And I think that that's going to put a whooping on gold still. I'm beating the same drum, but nothing's changed for
Well,
that trade. What do you think?
let me just talk about gold for a second. Like, it's, if you look at it, pull up the chart, it's in a 4-month consolidation. Like, the
Yeah.
consolidation has been lasting for 4 months. It's an
Yep.
ascending triangle. It's up today, small. It's like, even though the price action isn't great, it's pretty resilient. It's pretty resilient. Like, you're not seeing it collapse down to 3,100, you know? So this is, I mean, the consolidation could last like another 2 months, but, ultimately, I think this resolves higher. But like, it's impossible to buy it in the middle of the range because there's so much volatility. Like, you could just easily get stopped out. So
Mm-hmm.
you just wait, and if it breaks out above 3,400, 3,500, then you just,
Yeah, but my like all trades that I have waiting for gold to keel over has an egg timer on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you have to pay attention as a trader when you're expecting something to happen and it doesn't. The egg timer's got to run out, and you got to give up on your view because, like you said, gold is more resilient than I would have thought. And that's just the fact that it's in an unbelievable bull trend. And at the same time, the dollar hasn't reversed at all.
Yeah.
Like I saw Morgan Stanley came out with a call this morning that they think now, after a 10% slide in the dollar, that crude oil is vulnerable on the upside because the dollar is going to start getting crushed from here. And I'm looking at that call and I'm like, man, I like to fade that with both hands. Like, seriously, an investment bank calling for a fading dollar down 10% on the year and that it's going to cause a spike in oil. Meanwhile, we just bombed Iran's nuclear facility and oil went 80 bid at 70. Like, I don't know how they come up with that call, but
Dude, this is the worst start for the dollar in a year in the last 50 years.
yeah.
And everybody is bearish. And I'm like, look, you do not have an original idea here. This is the worst start in 50 years. Like, you just came up with this idea, like, oh my God, I have like the best idea in the world. This is the most consensus thing of all time. Like,
100%. That's why,
yeah.
you just turned my trade on its head. Gold long is the most consensus long in the freaking markets. And, like, everybody's got it on. We just have to wait for the trade to pan out, the dip to pan out. The same thing, though, the reason that I have to have an egg timer in gold waiting for it to curl over is because open interest is at 446,000 contracts, which is nil, right? In terms of positioning, there are tumbleweeds blowing through the gold market. So if we had positioning up, if we had open interest at 600,000 contracts and we had, commitment of traders long out the wazoo, I would give my trade a little time to work and I bet it would work better. But right now, there's just not enough length in there to tip it over. Every time it dips, there's a central bank on the bid, just like kind of Bitcoin looks like right now. Bitcoin price action has been pretty good. And same thing, it responds to the narrative of fiat currency burning in all forms. 109,000 bid as we speak, and that's another one that's consolidating sideways. Maybe they both, those are great store of value trades. Maybe they both resolve higher after wearing out all the bears. Could be. Rates in the meanwhile, like we said, are mean reverting, and like I always say, that's one of the reasons I can stay bullish stocks. Like, rates are literally, they reach the bottom of the range and spike to the middle of the range, and they crawl to the top of the range and get crushed to the middle of the range. Rates are beautiful for the stock market right now. There's nothing going on in the economy.
Dude, I have no view on bonds whatsoever. Just
No,
like
me neither,
no
man.
trend, nothing, just nothing.
No. It's almost time to go off market, JD. Did we leave anything out?
Yeah.
Anything pressing that we want to talk about?
I don't think so.
I want to touch on one more thing.
Okay.
What do you think about the copper tariff conversation that Trump
yeah.
is?
How do we not talk about this? Oh my God.
Yeah, we got to talk about this. I mean, because
Dude,
it's not doing anything in the markets except doubling the price of Freeport McMoran.
Do you want to hear a scary story?
Yeah.
I was short copper the day before.
Oh my
and
God.
covered. Yeah. I basically just shorted it on a scalp. I shorted that spike and just like caught a scalp. And
All right.
but like I dude, when the copper news hit, I was like, oh my God, I could have gotten my head blown off. Like,
So what I don't understand is why is LME copper sideways and high grade copper spikes from 5 to 550?
I don't know, but I'm gonna guess.
Yeah.
I think high grade copper is US and
Right.
London is overseas. So
Yeah.
like it's all about the tariff. Like we're putting a tariff on imports, but there's you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't for some reason they don't not all of this price action is totally logical to me. I mean, I would have thought they would have both gone up and I would have thought London copper might have gone up even higher. If there's going to be a higher tax on that, they're going to have to charge their customers more to pay for, trading copper and things. So, I don't know. I thought that would be a kind of more of an inflationary follow through and maybe I'm just reading it wrong, or I don't have the best read on it. But so maybe this is something that we got to open up a little bit deeper as we go. There could be a trade here. You know what I mean? Like the copper chart, no matter what, you look at the LME chart through LME 10K again, like it's got room to run. So those are the trades that become vulnerable, and I don't want to be too far behind it like we are now. But it's got industrial miners straight to the all-time highs at $70, back to excuse me, that's industrial miners are XME, sorry. XME has gone from, 70 to 50 and back to 70 again, right about to press out the highs and break out. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in copper here and gold as a little bit of a gold bear and somebody that's not really getting a crazy response out of copper that I would have expected. I almost want to short XME here against the old highs for a trade, but we'll see what happens.
Dude, I gotta tell you, XME, when I was trading ETFs at Lehman, that was the second worst ETF to trade. Like all
Tough
those
one.
small cap miners are so freaking squirrely. They trade like shit. They're
Yep.
super volatile. The worst ETF to trade was BBH, the biotech
I was
holding.
just gonna say, it had to be biotech, right? With
Yeah.
all of that small cap crap stuffed in there, right? Yeah, that's a sector that I kind of have a noise cancellation policy on biotech and healthcare. I kind of lump them into the same thing. I can never figure out how to have an edge. I once invested in a biotech company that $9 that went to $2 so fast my head spun, and I just want no part of it. I want no part of it anymore. Let's go off markets, JD. We got something to talk about here. We went into 4th of July weekend with a pretty strong "Make America Great Again" pulse around the U.S. And we came out of 4th of July weekend, and they basically penalized P. Diddy for jaywalking. Trump buried the Epstein files, and he's sending arms to Zelensky. And my head is spinning counterclockwise because I can't explain any of that. What are your thoughts?
I haven't been following this super close, but let me just say that the truth always finds a way to get out.
Yeah.
It always finds a way to get out. So, like, regardless of whether Trump's going to release the Epstein files, maybe whoever's president in 2028 does it. Like, it'll come out eventually. It'll come out.
Well,
Um,
it's Harry. The Harry part, he's saying that there are none and that he killed himself. And then the press conference that he gave where he said, "Are we still talking about this creep?" Like that was the worst look I've ever seen for the Trump
yeah,
administration. The
yeah.
worst look. And then Pam Bondi saying, "No, what I meant was all the files from the case on my desk, not the list of no, no, no." And you're like, "Holy shit, they're terrible at this. They're so bad at this, and it doesn't seem like they care."
Yeah.
So that's the hard part is that we know we're being lied to. They know that they're lying to us. So maybe there's something bigger afoot. There's talk out there from, smarter guys than you and I on political stuff saying, this is another chess move. They're luring the deep state guys into thinking they're safe over this Epstein cover up. And then something else is going to happen now that they've manufactured consent to demand the Epstein files come out if they're there. So, man, it's all way over my head, but I am deeply disappointed in what Trump is doing right now. There's going to have to be some kind of resolution to this. like in the near future. Like Tucker Carlson went out, and he's kind of going off the deep end to me a little bit, but he came out and did a great interview with a guy where he's like, isn't it amazing? I got to take back everything bad I said about Jeff Epstein. I thought he was trafficking, young underage kids, and it turned out the poor guy just killed himself in jail, as a billionaire, an innocent billionaire, 36 years in jail, took his own life. Go figure. But the sarcasm is so thick you can cut it with a knife. I look forward to one day when we figure out what actually happens with this, but
we'll find out. We'll find out.
We'll find out.
What else? I can say this for sure. Yeah. I am not in the Epstein files.
Oh, good. Good for you, JD. You are all in the clear. I can say for one that I'm definitely not either. I've never been on the Lolita Express. That's the best part, is that for years we were like, oh my God, look at this flight log. Bill Clinton's been on the Lolita Express 15 times. And now they're like, there's no files. There's been no blackmailing going on. Move along here. So it's really special to get treated like that by the U.S. Gov. What else do we want to talk about, JD? Anything light and airy? How's book sales going? Rule 62. How are your meditations?
It's going well. Book sales are good. Yeah. You know what's funny is every book I've written, there's always some dillweed in the comments or the reviews or something like, neener, this book sucks, whatever. Like, I haven't gotten any of that this time. Everybody loves this book. Like, I have not gotten one piece of negative feedback.
Excellent.
So people love the book. You should pick it up.
Excellent.
And I also have this. Check this out.
What do we got? Oh, is that a new cover for the book?
Yeah, it's a paperback of No Worries.
Oh,
No
cool.
Worries. No Worries just came out in paperback a couple days ago.
Dynamite.
So it's always good when a book comes out in paperback. It's a very good sign.
Oh, cool. Awesome, man. Well, my 19-year-old son read No Worries this summer and loved it. I sent you a picture of him sitting out sitting out in the yard reading the book, which is like on his own volition, which is something that makes me proud. So thanks for writing that for him. By meditations. Also, I want to thank everyone. JD and I kind of plugged the dual sub last week, and they went off the shelf like hotcakes. So thanks to all of you that have just joined. Yeah, thanks to all of you that have just joined us. Give us a chance, and I would be willing to bet we make you some money. That's kind of our trademark, and giving us a long enough chance, we'd probably get you into a really awesome trade at some point too. So,
dude,
give us a little time.
I was in New York last week, and I met a subscriber who said that 2017, 2018, he made $243,000 off of one of my trades.
Sweet.
And he's like, I'm a subscriber for life. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter.
Well, we got a comment on our YouTube page that I sent to you that one guy was like, I became a dual subscriber and decided to position things only based on Jared and Tony, and I am finally making lots of money trading. And you're like, well, there you go. So Thank you all for joining. Please give us a chance, and I think that you'll find out that we'll be a good people in the plethora of voices for you guys to listen to. We're definitely should be part of your sort of analyst portfolio. It's fair to say. So I think we're rolling through macro dirt number 54, 54 in a row. Here's to that. We've gone over a year without missing a week. We're going to try to go another however many years we can until they throw us in a box. So thanks for listening, good people. And until macro dirt number 55, the Godzilla podcast. Hasta la vagina, everybody.
Hasta la vagina.